into office in January 2021. The first international speech that he delivered was to the African Union members during the annual African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, reaffirming and recommitting the U.S. ties with Africa, the friendship between Africa and the continent. And last year, the President and the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, announced the first Presidential Advisory Council for African Diaspora Engagement to further strengthen the cultural, political, social, and economic ties between the U.S. and Africa and the diaspora. This week, the Assistant Secretary of State, Kurt Campbell, is traveling is on the continent, traveling across African nations, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Senegal, as well as other countries, to meet with leaders as well as the diaspora to see how to further strengthen the economic and trade ties between the U.S. and this country. Today, I am at the African Union, that is located, African Union Mission in Washington, D.C., that is located in Wisconsin Avenue. Washington, D.C., of course, is known as the Little Addis Ababa because of the large population of Ethiopians that are based in Washington, D.C. and the DMV, as well as other Africans that are based in the DMV area. And Washington, D.C. as well is the heart of the global economic, the global leadership. The World Bank and the IMF are both located in Washington, D.C. So last month, during the G7 Leaders Summit in Italy, President Biden, as well as the U.S., as well as other leaders from the seven wealthiest nations, recommit to engaging with Africa to support the African Union Agenda 2063 agenda with their engagement and the investment with the continent. So we took our camera out, since this is the heart of leadership and heart of the multilateral financial institution. And we have a large population of Africans based in Washington, D.C. to engage with them, to get a sense of their own thought, of their own view, of how they see the U.S. African relations, as well as what can be improved and their message to their leaders as well. This is what they have to say. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview. Talk to us about your plan and what this advisory council will do in terms of strengthening the relationship between the U.S. and Africa.
Well, this is a new initiative that was born out of the great meeting held last year in the African Leadership Summit. And from that summit, ideas were brought forth about creating a greater partnership between the African diaspora communities and the African continent, and then African Americans, and how if we bring those three entities together, we can come up with some creative ways to answer some of the issues and problems that are surfacing on the continent, as well as here in America, and our collective voices blending together to make a difference.
You talk about addressing some of the challenges on the continent. Your relationship with Africa goes way back. And I'm wondering if you could share lessons learned from your experience that you are bringing to this council as a leader to help this relationship, this initiative that the President Biden, and the Vice President is looking to strengthen the relationship.
Well, as you stated, my experience on the continent goes way back, actually, to my years on campus at Wilberforce University, where my roommate was a gentleman from Kryfontein, South Africa. And I learned all about apartheid from him. Unfortunately, before then, I didn't know about apartheid until then, when I met Reverend Wilfred Messiah, who's now one of our bishops. And then I started visiting and traveling over there, spending some time. I did some doctoral work in Cape Town, Pretoria, and Johannesburg. And I got a chance to get up close and personal with some of the poverty. And what's frustrating for me was that right next to the poverty in Johannesburg and Cape Town, more so than Pretoria, is abject poverty. I also learned that there's a wealth of energy coming from young people who just want to have a better chance at life. And to me, it reminds me of the young people, young African Americans in the United States who have hope that if I apply myself educationally and do the right things, then doors will open up for me. And so I think that that relationship between the children in the United States and those that I came in contact with in South Africa. I'm also now the Bishop of Namibia and Angola, that's important. And the partnership that we can build there has far-reaching consequences.
Can you talk about being on this council? What does it mean to you?
Well, it's really an honor to be a part of this. I'm really thrilled to be part of this council because I think it represents a new and perhaps renewed, but really a new focus on the link between America and Africa at a time where I think it's more important than ever that we are continuing to forge those partnerships and those relationships, and to do a council that reaches out to people who are of the African diaspora, who are descendants of Africa, descendant of whether it's formerly enslaved persons or whether it's people who migrated to the United States, to have a council that is full of people who have a connection to Africa, thinking about our roots and our link to the African continent. I think it's an incredible opportunity.
As the leader of one of the black institutions in America, and the vice president talked about this, and the president have talked about this, Africa has the largest youth population. So how do you plan to use your position on this council to build that relationship, to be able to tap into the African youth, as well as connected to the Black American youth here?
Well, I think as a leader of an educational institution, we have a real opportunity to really think about how are we educating and how are we providing opportunities for education really in both directions, so that young African Americans can be better informed about Africa, but also that Africans can be better informed about opportunities and hopefully expose young Africans to education. We know that with Africa being the fastest growing population and having the largest population of young people, young uneducated people are not a good thing in this world. And so I would really like to see us build our ties around education for African youth, while we're also making sure that we're exposing our young people to Africa.
And you've been traveling around for quite a while. You were at Decatur Economic Forum, you were in Canada, and you also just met with the Deputy Secretary Kurt Campbell at the State Department. Could you talk about how you're working with the Biden-Harris administration and why the relationship with the U.S. is significant for Nigeria, for the Tinubu administration?
Relationship with the U.S. is significant because it's the largest economy in the world. And like us, it's a democracy, and we share a lot in common. It's a diverse country, just like Nigeria is a diverse country, and we're looking to make sure that the relationship continues to improve.
Okay. And in terms of investors, what are you hearing from American investors? There's been lukewarm in the past. People are warming up. And the presidential advisory will be coming to Nigeria in July. So, what are you looking to offer to them?
We're looking to offer them the opportunity to invest in what is going to be one of the largest economies in the world, which is the largest economy on the African continent at the moment. So it's full of opportunities.
Thank you. I have fellow Nigerians from Maryland. And I just stopped you guys because I could tell. I mean, as you know, African can always tell another African. But I wanted to ask you regarding the U.S. African relationship, especially U.S. Nigerian relationship. Talk to me about that in comparison with what this administration has been doing in comparison to previous administration. Are you happy with that?
Well, I would say we are happy and we are not, right? Happy in the sense that there are a lot of opportunities here, right, compared to what we have back home. But again, the administration has not been doing well in terms of integration of people coming from Africa into the society here, right? Yeah, they are doing well giving work permits and all that, but there's no clear pathway to citizenship or for you to become a permanent resident, right? So we leave our place, with the hope, okay, that we're going to get better opportunities, better infrastructure, but we are not getting that, right? Even though, again, like I said, we are having some advantages here, right? But the administration can do better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of investment on the continent and across the continent, what do you think about that? I mean, in the past there has been true aid, and there's now more moves towards trade and economic development. So, ladies, okay, I will go back to the guys because I can see like
Yeah, well, in terms of developments of the African continent, I have a strong feeling that they've done well in the past and they are still doing some things now. But again, everything has been coming with a price, right? When we get loans, when the government, the African countries, when they get loans, it's like they are stuck in that debt for life. So there's really no progress being made. Yeah, they are giving you those facilities, they are giving you those opportunities, but it's coming at a huge cost. So if they can actually give those benefits, they can give those aids without putting the African continent into perpetual debt, I think that will make more sense and help the African countries, especially Nigeria, to be better.
Okay, speaking of Nigeria, your country, you have a new administration now, the Tinubu administration.
Okay.
We know Nigeria, there was a period of economic growth, and there has been a period where there has been stagnations, and we see a lot of that. You have young kids, a lot of youth on the continent are affected. Women as well are significantly affected. So if you can talk about, if you have a message to the administration on what would be your number 1 and 2 that they need to do to make the country a place where you want to go back to.
Number 1, fix power. Yeah. They should fix the power in that country and everything will be fine. That is already 70% of the problem. If they can fix that, that country will be great again.
And you mean, when you say power, you mean energy?
Energy. Yes, NEPA.
Yeah, I would say
Yes.
security.
Security.
Oh
That's
my
what.
goodness, because we are all scared to like go back, right? Because there's insecurity everywhere. We are so scared. You're not sure if you travel by road, it's gonna be a mess. So yeah, I would say insecurity everywhere, fix security, so people can come home and feel safe. Right now, we are not even thinking about like going home. Before we're so excited, we want to go home, right? But when we remember what is happening there, we've seen a lot of kidnapping going on, killings, even the young kids are being killed. Nobody's exempted, even little born babies. It's scary, it's sad. If they can do that, then that would be for us or for me, I would say insecurity, especially because of the kids we have, right? We want our kids safe. We want them to be proud to go back because that has always been on our mind to be able to go back. But right now, it's down there. It's like 30%. We are excited, we are Nigerians, but we are not sure we want to go back into that place right now.
The US is doing a lot regarding investing in Africa. Africa is the place to be right now. They are trying to boost more investments in human capital, in the youth, to create an enabling environment. So, what do you think about that relationship in comparison to what it was before?
Like I think the U.S. is in a good position because in the past, Africa was colonized by France, by Britain, or by other European countries, and the experience with those countries, the former colonial powers, as we call them, has not been good. So I think now the U.S. is in a very good position if they want to create new partnership, invest, and just in a win-win situation so that African countries also can benefit from those investments.
We have a situation that is going on, as we were talking earlier on before we started doing this interview. Do you feel that African nation, given what is going on in Kenya, that we see unfolding in Kenya, what we saw unfolded in Senegal earlier before the election, what is your view, and do you think African leaders are doing enough for the youths on the continent?
No, I don't think that the African governments are doing enough. I mean, some are trying, but I don't feel like it's enough. I think they should do more. And it's just sad what's going on in Kenya, what happened in Senegal. So I think the government
In South Africa and other parts
in
of
South
Nigeria.
Africa, like I feel like the crises are, ongoing. It's not stopping. Yes.
Because of the high unemployment across the continent.
Unemployment rate is very high in most African countries, so that's definitely something to solve, something to tackle. Yeah, because I feel like if the youth had more opportunities, like if they can find work there, many of them would not be leaving, taking the sea, etc.
I mean, one of the things that you mentioned, you are one of these youths that you are talking about also. Like you are able to transition, as you mentioned to me, you were initially working in Senegal for a foreign company, and yet now you're in the US as a tutor. So, if there's opportunity, like I asked you, if there's opportunity, enabling environment for you, will you have moved to the US?
Like personally, like me moving to the US is just a personal choice. Like I did not move because I was poor in Senegal or I didn't have work. As I said, I was working for the British Embassy in Dakar, so I was doing very well, and then after 3 years with them, I resigned and then I freelanced. I was doing very good. But like last year, or let's say from 2021, when the crisis started in Senegal, I just decided to leave. Not because of poverty, but because I was just tired of the crisis, etc. And today I'm here I'm in the U.S. now as a French teacher and as a freelance translator as well. So, and there are like a lot of people like me, a lot of young people who move to the U.S. not because of poverty, but it's just a choice sometimes, you know.
Just to get away from the chaos that
From
is
the
going
chaos,
on.
and then, but also, you know, I feel like traveling is good. If you can do it, you should.
It's an opportunity.
Yes.
So, what would you like to tell Americans about Senegal, about Africa?
I think Africa is a wonderful continent. I will definitely like recommend everybody, not just Americans, but everybody to visit if they can. Senegal, you know, especially is a very beautiful country, nice people, a lot of opportunities, and very peaceful. So definitely, yeah, I would recommend people to come and visit. Nigeria also.
The key there is Africa is a continent,
Yes,
not a country.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not a country.
Yeah,
Thank
more
you.
than 50 countries?
Not 54.
54 countries, yeah.
54 countries.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you love about the U.S.?
I would say definitely like it's peaceful. You know, sometimes we have a lot of political, you know, issues, but it's not like violence like in Africa. So definitely it's peaceful and a lot of opportunities. I feel like you can be whatever you want to be, and if you work hard, you work your way, there is nothing that will stop you.
So what actually stopped me, I stopped you.
Yeah.
Could you put back your hand?
Okay.
So what actually, because I was crossing the street going to where I needed to go, and I was like, this is so unique. So I'm gonna like, how did you put this together? This whole thing. I mean,
Simple.
this is
Simple.
huh?
It's simple. Like, yeah, I like putting on simple stuff.
I mean,
Nothing
you're
fancy.
wearing that cowboy hat like Raphael,
Yeah.
Pharrell Williams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, did you take inspiration from him? Because I know a couple
No,
of
from,
years ago,
from my dad. My dad used to wear like these hats, so I took it from him.
from your dad.
Yes.
Okay, because we know like a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, they had the Chanel fashion show in Senegal, in Dakar, actually. You remember that?
When was that? Last year?
No, I think it was last year or about 2 years ago.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it was organized by
Pharrell.
by
Okay.
Pharrell Williams.
I don't remember. I've been to a couple of them, like with Adama Pari.
Oh, okay.
Adama Pari,
Yes.
another designer, but I wasn't to that one.
Well, thank you for talking with us, fellow African,
You're
and you just represent this style.
Thank
So
you.
this is the summer style that everybody should be paying closer attention to.
Thank you, thank you.
From Africa
Thank
to
you.
the US.
Thank you.
Thank you.